And to get the evening started, I wanted to invite two people to join me up here to say a few words, director Alison Chernick and Michael Cantor from American Masters.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of American Masters, it was a great thrill this year to have 3 films within Doc NYC. Doc NYC, if you're not in the documentary community, is sort of the place to see the best documentary films. So we had Lorraine Hansberry, Sighted Eyes, Feeling Heart, which will actually air on PBS January 19th, so check it out if you missed it this week. Sammy Davis Jr., I've Gotta Be Me, and of course tonight, Itzhak. We have, if you're interested, a podcast, the American Masters podcast, things online at pbs.org. I really urge you to listen to Tom Power's Pure Nonfiction podcast, which, again, if you're interested in anything to do with documentary, it's great. But tonight is really Alison Chernick's night. She's done an amazing job on this film. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for coming, and especially Tom Powers and Raphael Neuhausen for being huge supporters of documentary and curating an amazing program. I want to thank Michael Cantor and American Masters and PBS for being incredible to work with and allowing filmmakers to really have their vision and stick to it. My insanely talented editor, Helen Yum, my creative collaborator. This project wouldn't be the same without her. Penny Lieberman for the introduction to the Perlmans, and last but not least to the Perlmans, who really are just incredible role models for the next generation at such a critical time when we need that. Enjoy the film.
I have one last thing. One last thing. There'll be a Q&A afterwards, and also I wanted to thank the National Endowment for Humanities, which helped to sponsor this film. They deserve a big round of applause. Thank you.
So I know I speak for all the people in this audience. Thank you for allowing us to bask in such music and joy for the last 90 minutes. So let's start there. And Toby and Itzhak, I wanted to ask you about the experience of having a documentary film crew follow you around for a year. What was that like?
You go ahead.
Why? Why don't you talk? Is that on? Is that on?
No.
You can use mine.
You can use mine.
Okay, so you talk now.
Well, I don't know. All I know is right now I got so used to having the camera around that I just came from a tour of another tour of because we're talking about this tour to China and Japan and Korea and so on. Now there's just another one, and every time something happened, I said, "Where is Alison? Where is the camera?" You know, because you know.
We're
and I
done.
said, "What?"
I said, "We're done."
No, there's always the return of Itzhak. Or Itzhak 2. Never mind.
No, seriously, it was not a problem. Mm-hmm. We never had any aggravation at all from her crew, and it was fine. It really was. I mean, we didn't even feel it. Mm-hmm. So.
One of my favorite experiences was when I was running down Broadway on my scooter to have the camera people rush after me with their camera, and they were having a terrible time, you know, because I was fast, you know, I was going 6 miles an hour, and they had to go with the camera, so that was an experience.
And I was like, just please don't let a car hit them, please.
That's right, yeah, and don't look at the camera, you know, I'm just going.
Alison, can you talk a little bit about how you started this project and even what the experience of filming was like?
Yeah, so I was approached to do this film, and I had done portraits of artists before. I hadn't done a musician for a while, and I think, or really ever, a feature length. And for me, the experience to each artist is very unique, but the process of filmmaking is similar. You really want to get to know the artist and showcase that to the world. So that part wasn't so different from other experiences, but his story for me.
Yeah, but we're nicer than other people, right?
That's for sure. No, it was quite a challenge to capture his incredible spirit and passion and humanity, and how he infuses that into his music, and try to really, you know, have that resonate for the audience. I think the editing room was really where a documentary comes together, and that's the most challenging.
There are at least 2 other films on the editing room floor that you could
right.
put together.
We'd always say that, and I was like, no, trust me, that's the best part.
DVD extras. They'll come out. Or Itzhak too. You never know. And Itzhak, you've spent a life performing for other people, so audiences are used to watching you. And tonight, you ate popcorn and watched a movie about yourself. So in a sense, like you were the audience of your life. And I was wondering, well, not to be too profound, but...
Sounds really awesome.
But
You ate popcorn.
what's the experience like, watching a film about your life?
Well, it depends on the popcorn.
How is the popcorn? We'll start
Popcorn.
I
there.
ate that at the rough
Popcorn
cut.
was great.
When I showed
Good.
you the rough cut, you had popcorn.
Yes, it was very, very good. No, it's. I guess it's all right. I mean, I think the second time I've seen this film, and then I kind of know what's going on. So I said, "Oh, here comes that part. Oh, let's get it over with." And then that's this part. Oh, let's get it over with. Well, I'm not going to watch it again.
Was it different this time?
What? Yes. It was not as mysterious as it was the first time. No, it was. I thought. Look, I don't know. I'm not going to. I'm very. I'm the worst person to ask about this
Not
film.
objective.
No, totally. And all I think about is that sometimes whenever you do something, you always are very prejudiced. You say, "Oh, it's the greatest. It's this." In this particular case, when somebody says, "How was it?" I said, "Well, I'm not sure. I kind of liked it, but I'm not sure if it's anything because I'm not the proper judge." So.
And you said you didn't get bored, which is a good thing.
No, it was okay.
And Toby, what about for you?
I loved it. I loved it the first time I saw it. I also have only seen it twice. The first time I saw it, I kind of had a reaction to myself. I kind of got scared of myself because I felt I was so intense, and then I actually realized I guess I'm intense. That's and I loved it this time as well. I mean, I had favorite moments. I was seeing Dorothy DeLay talk that way about him, and it made me feel as if she was still alive, and it was wonderful. And well, I just think, Alison, I think you did a great job. I think you made a wonderful movie, really.
My incredible editor, Helen Yum, should be up here with us. She really made this film sing and dance.
So let's take some questions from the audience. I'll call on you, and I can repeat the question out loud so everybody hears it.
I can't even.
Oh, right here, yes.
I don't have a question, but I want to express my gratitude to Mr. Perlman. I remember in the documentary of Highfest, you said that his playing is like a cyclone. So it's like strong, intense wind, like evolving while he was playing. When I first heard your playing, I envisioned light. It always brims with joy, warmth, and energy. It's like when you go to a forest, you see the sunlight coming from the shade. The shade partially covers it, but you see the lights that does.
Okay, and I'm just going to paraphrase for the audience. There's no question, but it's a lot of admiration for Mr. Perlman.
A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff, and a lot of light, and a lot of goodness. All right, an actual question if possible. Yes, sir.
I'd like to congratulate my niece, Alison. My question is the following from Mr. Perlman. I've heard that great artistry comes from great suffering. As being a Mets fan helped.
I have to repeat that one. That's too good not to repeat. That great artistry comes from great suffering, so has being a Mets fan helped his artistic process?
I mean, leaps and bounds. Every year I get better as they get worse. So maybe I can say that next year maybe I shouldn't be so good. They'll be a little better. But no, it takes a lot of a lot of inner commitment, to stick with them. We'll be okay. We'll be all right.
And well, we can clap for the Mets, although maybe not. I don't know, with your artistic process. Alison, can you talk a little bit about what's happening to this film, and if people want to tell their friends about it or see it again, where they would go?
So we're discussing a theatrical release that looks like it's going to be around February, and then it'll be on American Masters a couple months later. We haven't locked in an exact date, but for sure, middle of 2018. Airlines, DVDs. it's making its rounds around the world. So
That's great. Okay, another good question from the audience. Right there, sir.
What was Itzhak's and Toby's favorite part of the film?
So the question is, what was Itzhak and Toby's favorite part of the film?
The dogs, of course. Yes, I mean, right? Wojciech was a star, I thought. What was your favorite, Toby, part of the film, besides me?
Miss DeLay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very personal. You know, she was our teacher, and she was the dramatic, biggest force in your life, right, Dorothy DeLay, and also tremendous influence on me. And we were just so lucky to have her in our lives. So that's a very, I mean, I enjoyed all the playing. I enjoyed Wieniawski F sharp minor. Ah, you were so good.
I thought Obama's introduction,
Yeah.
I loved.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, that's but
Good. The onion sizzling in the skillet. Terrific. I like that.
yeah.
that delay footage took us about 6 months to find.
And how did you find it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think I sent over one of our coordinators to the library to find it, and he had to like film it with his iPhone because they wouldn't release it. And months later, we got a higher quality copy. But I was like, we must have this.
Time for a few more questions right here.
So much of what we've heard of your playing is sort of the European tradition of classical music. Can you talk about sort of your background, spending time in Israel? Is there any influence of the microtonal types of music scales that is more prevalent in the Middle East?
Well, the way I play is in the grand tradition, which is, you know, I mean, it's what you hear in your head. So, you know, what I grew up with, listening on the radio, is stuff that was the language that I was introduced to. So. So that's why, you know. So it's just something I can't really be very analytical about it. It's just something that comes naturally in your head as to what you sound like, what you play like, something in the background. Toby, I know that you have something to say about this.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
In other words, has he been influenced by the other sounds in the Middle East? Listening on the radio, and I don't know.
Well, in the klezmer, yes. You know, klezmer, klezmer, I've never done klezmer before. Even maybe we started off like maybe 20 years ago, and then it came very, very natural because I had that in my head as well. So it's in and that's what during our music program we always play recordings of musicians from not just today, but from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, because the styles have evolved very kind of, subtly. It's a subtle evolved style, and I feel that kids today sometimes have a tendency to hear today, and with some exceptions, but we wanted to make sure. And it's like studying musical history. If you listen to, like you saw in the film, there was the piece that we listened to. We talked about Chrysler, but the piece that was played by Menuhin, Yehudi Menuhin, and again was brought up in a tradition, a European tradition, and with a particular way of having sound and slides and so on and so forth, which is always wonderful for people to know how people used to play, and how we play today. We are deaf if we don't listen to what happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. So that's important.
That's my favorite scene in the movie, the one that you're talking about, the listening scene.
So we have time for one last question.
After all of these years, do you still love what you do?
The question is, after all of these years, does he still love what he does?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the things that people always ask me what else is left for you to do, and I said, well, for me the challenge is to continually love what I do, and if I can accomplish that. And if I can accomplish that, then that's my goal. Then I'm successful. And luckily, music is a pretty good subject to be associated with. And it's art is great. So, and I'm very happy with what I'm doing, and I'm never bored. So
you're the very first New York City audience to see this film. Please help me thank director Alison Chernick and our wonderful subjects, Toby and Itzhak Perlman. Thank you.